Hello, welcome to another episode of Misty Bay. We're just going to pick it up right where we left off. Trying something a little different today. I'm not going to be using any music. So we're going to start off by just simply placing in these grids here. These are some really funky grids that we're going to be putting in here because of the way we've decided to lay this out. That's fine. No stress. Absolutely no stress. We don't stress here. No reason to stress. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna change this because this isn't gonna work. It's a really funny little block we got going on here. There's gonna be some really interesting little homes that pop up here. It's a very tight grid in comparison to Riverton, which was a very open grid in comparison. But this is what we're going for with this town. We're looking for a more compact look. That was part of the reason for picking a smaller survey grid. It's almost like the people who settled here saw the mountain and the coast and were like, we're kind of pinched here, so we better figure out a very tight grid to work between it. Yeah, this is tricky. I want to maximize the zoning potential here without creating too many roads. So we're getting some really wonky networking through here, but that's fine. We're not stressed about that. We don't let these kind of things stress us out. We just play. These little things happen and it's fine. It's what makes your city, your town unique. We don't stress here. Absolutely no stress. So I thought that was going to work out, but I forgot that we've got this offset grid due to our buffer zone being inset instead of outset like we normally do. But that's fine. That is fine. It's good to have that commercial buffer along the highway. It really does help with the noise. It also just makes sense, but it's your city. You are free to do as you please. There's no rules. There's absolutely no rules here. It's whatever you feel. It's your own world. You get to set the rules. I'm not telling you how to play. I'm just showing you my way and how I get the results I'm looking for. It's not the right way. It's just my way. So if you have a different way of doing things, then you do it that way. That's the beauty of this game. You're not confined to one way of playing. You really are not. This game is really an art. It's not just a video game. It is an art form. There is artistic interpretation involved here. There are decisions that have to be made in the same way that you're deciding to paint, to draw, sculpt, anything like that. This is a very similar train of thought. With that in mind, it's good to set yourself up with little rules. They don't have to be anybody else's but your rules. But if you want a consistent look, you give yourself rules to keep it consistent. And they're your rules. And that's because it's your world. This is just how I like to get the results I'm looking for. So I said again, I think I'm going to expand upwards instead of to the side here. I don't want to get too sprawled out yet. I think we'll have some standardized grid sections out here now because we're away from the downtown where we had some really wonky things going on. But like we said, that is fine. Absolutely fine. There's no right way. Anything you do in this game will just give you a different outcome. Not a right or wrong outcome, just a different outcome, and you'll just have to learn how to handle it. Just have to learn how to handle it. I'm deciding whether I want to break this up into threes or end up into half. I think we'll go with half to keep our standard block size we now seem to have forming here. Yeah, this is turning out really nice. I love the obscurity, the difference than any other town that will be built. All these little funny things will happen and we don't plan for it. We don't try to. We let it happen. There's no mistakes. Absolutely no mistakes. Like I said, you just build and you deal with the results. You just build and you deal with the results. There is no right way. Absolutely no right way. If you want to build a city filled with circles, then you build a city full of circles. I always forget the pipes, so I'll make sure to get them in real quick. I always tend to zone first. This is my little thing. I don't know. We're just weird. We're all a little weird in our own little ways. Yeah. This is turning out nice. Absolutely nice. It's full-blown winter here, I tell ya. I'm so glad we don't deal with snow in this game. So I'll upgrade this to a paved road. It's a main road, so at this point it really does deserve to be upgraded. Yeah. Well, look at that. On the Watu. It's a small little town on the Watu. Riverton. These little names we make up on the fly. Nothing crazy. This is how they did it in real life. This is how they did it in real life. Look at all these little subdivisions. It's perfect. We're running into a little bit of an education issue here, so we are going to have to build a school somewhere. I don't like building suburb schools. I don't really know how to place them in to look nice, because they're kind of suburbs like themselves. They'll be isolated. But maybe we'll give On the Watu a public school. Now I imagine that this is there's a deal going on between On the Watu and Riverton to consolidate their resources. So this is one school board, I would imagine. So they may get a elementary school here that we're putting in, but I really doubt it'll be a high school here. And if they do, it'll be a long time from now. I'm going to really concentrate the high schools in Riverton. Yeah, I mean, who's to say? We don't know what the future holds. We may have no choice but to put one here. We may have no choice. But we don't know yet. We don't know. So, I'm going to try to keep this going through, this theme of counties and towns. So each town's going to have their own garbage facilities for now until town and county, each town's going to have their own little garbage facilities for now, and perhaps maybe we'll have to have a county garbage facility in the future and close down the town ones, but we're not worried about that. Right now, each little town's going to handle it on their own. Our power is countywide. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out where we're going to get this county school in. This is for the entire region, mind you. Not for just Riverton. So every student that's going to want to go to high school in the area is going to want to go to this high school. And this may seem crazy, but this is how you control your educated workers. Now, the game does not run on money in a way that real life does, in that people get paid, a different amount of money for their education or job level. Every sim has an unlimited amount of money. So when you're creating land value and places for people to live, the land value isn't necessarily representative of their income, but rather their education level. This is very important. So now that we've put this high school right on the edge of Riverton here, all these homes are going to now increase in property value. This doesn't mean you're going to have higher income people living there. It just means you're more likely to have higher educated workers living there in the area. So if you want to control your educated workers, you need to leave areas that are undeveloped, intentionally so. That way you force uneducated workers. I mean, this is just the way I play. Some people like to play where they have highly educated workers and education accessible to everyone. But I do not. I find that in real life, there are kids who miss out on an education. Not so much anymore, but there are. And then there are kids who don't make it past high school. And some kids who barely pass high school. And so I find the best way to handle this in the game is to actually leave some people unintentionally uneducated, rather. This is just the way I play again. I mean, I'm not telling you how to play. I'm just showing you my process to get the results I'm looking for. Like I said, every little thing you do will have a different outcome on your city and change the way you play. Change the way you play. Because I'm controlling my educated workers differently, my RCI demand will be changed. So if you have constant, fully educated, highly educated, all the time workers, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of demand for office work. This naturally means you're going to need a dense city center. So if that's not what you're going for, you're going to have to figure out how to get more uneducated workers so they demand industry. When they demand industry, we can expand into things like farms, which can allow us to build a very small rural county community, which will allow us to slowly build it into a city if we choose to, exactly as real life does. If you watch YouTube, I find that this is how some of my favorite YouTubers do it, like long time ago Fluxtrance and Strict Toaster, and nowadays like Biffa and Sardis, City Planner. I did watch Sam Burr for a while, but this is carried over from the old way of playing Sim City, which is a game I used to play a lot growing up. So a lot of my build style is still influenced from the way that game was played, and actually I've developed my style almost as a way, as an homage to the old SimCity games, because they were the classic. SimCity 3000 was the game. I have put so many hours into that game. Well, probably more than what I've put into City Skylines at this point. SimCity 3000, that was a game. That was a game. So I think it's time we get some larger commercial slots in here. Something like a grocer or a Costco. I want to fill a big footprint, take up a lot of these commercial demand for jobs down there on the RCI. It'll be interesting to find a place to put this. And now, this is the typical issues that a town, that a town and a county face when big box and retail stores want to come in. They need a large footprint, and towns aren't often always reluctant to give it up. So usually, farmland is bought, and farmers will sell off a chunk of their land. And so, I don't have any farms here, but I'm imagining that this is all farmland, and one of these stores has come in here and said, we'll buy up a section of it, because we have this idea. And the farmer's gonna go, well, you're gonna stand to make this much money from me selling you this, and I'm gonna lose this much money for selling off this part of my farm, so let's come to a nice arrangement. And the farmer probably will get a good compensation for it. And the town's not gonna be happy with that farmer for letting this big box store and its ugly parking lot to come in. But too bad. Absolutely too bad. It's gonna take up a lot of jobs. And in 10, 20 years, the community will love it. And they'll grow to accept it. And they'll be glad that they have it. Because I imagine at this time, Riverton is actually going to a city for a lot of their bigger shopping items. Up until this point, up until this little strip mall with the box stores I think we're going to put in here, a lot of Riverton would have to go to a bigger city to get custom and unique items that their downtown wouldn't carry. And they have a pretty strong downtown, but not as big as a city that's 10 times their size down the highway, off the map, that we're not worried about, that we're not thinking about, because it has no impact on us. But it should play into your story a bit. And I find having a story really does help build a city, build a town. Without a story, the town is almost meaningless. It is just buildings on some ground. So this parking space turned out real nice. Absolutely perfect. Couldn't go wrong with that. So we'll put a few little parking spots in here. This is my favorite tool. Absolutely my favorite parking tool. I used to really like those parking roads, but they're really finicky. They take up a lot of time to get in place, and they're not as functional as I like them. This, however, these big parking lot roads, these are perfect for what we need. So here's a little trick I like to do. You can copy and paste the parking spots and just flop them in. That way, if you have any misaligned grid units there, you don't have to play around with it. It can be quite frustrating. And we don't want to get frustrated. We just want to play the game and have fun and relax. That's all we want. It's a real simple game, free from stress. And that's part of the way I've developed my playstyle too. I find if you get too far ahead of yourself, on your plan, you almost set yourself up for failure. And we don't want that. We don't want to be discouraged. We don't want to not play. We don't want to stop. We come here for enjoyment. And when we don't get that, then we're not having fun. In the game, well, what's the sense? What's the sense? got quite a few buildings to choose from. I'm just not sure what I want to put in here. I want to make a large building though, so we'll probably go with a Rico building over placing one of these ploppables. Oh, well, you know, Tim Hortons are important. Gotta have them on every street corner. Absolutely every street corner. It wouldn't be a Canadian or an Ontario-inspired build without a Tim Hortons on literally every street corner. Gotta pack them in, you know. Pack them in like sardines. Let's put in a Zellers. They don't exist anymore. They're not that I can find. I think they were bought by Target a long time ago. Now they cease to exist in most places. Just another Walmart, but Canadian Walmart. It was much smaller too. Kind of like a Sears. I have a Sears, but it's too big for this. Perhaps we'll get a Superstore here. Yeah, I think that will work out good. Superstore would be really nice here. Is exactly the large footprint we were looking for. Yeah. This is a nice footprint. This is the one we wanted. I think we'll get a little service road in behind it. Nothing crazy here. Nothing crazy. We don't stress here. We don't make mistakes. We just play the game. We just play the game. We tell it what we want, and it just does it. Because that's how it is. This is our world. We set the rules. We set the rules. We decide how this city forms, what its purpose is, what its story is. These are all our own choices, our story, our decision, our rules. So don't listen to me. You do not have to follow me. This is just how I like to get the outcome I'm looking for, which is a realistic city within the bounds of the game. So there are going to be things we just have to accept because it's a game. And that's fine. We'll work around it. We won't let it stress us out. I like to play with as minimal assets as I can, only the critical ones in order to build the look I'm going for. I also like to play with as few mods as possible. I find that keeps the game stable, and that's important to me. I like to be able to come back and just continually grow the city slowly and redevelop and redevelop and redevelop, just like a real city. I like to build these little towns that slowly build into each other, that eat up the farmland. Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful world. Again, this is inspired by this map I'm working on, I built, and is inspired by the world around me, the world I grew up in. It's along the Niagara Escarpment, so it's not a specific place along the Niagara Escarpment because I didn't grow up in one specific place along the Niagara Escarpment. I grew up in a few, and they all have similar outlook to this. So it's just an inspiration. And I'm not trying to build a replica of any town or any city in real life. This is unique. This is unique and 100% my own. I don't want it to look anything like, well, there might be some little hints of it there and there. Just like the mountains and valleys and stuff like that. But it will be unique. So this drive-through lane we've put in here, it's also a service lane. It's going to work out nice. We're going to move all this closer so that it looks like this drive-through is right up against the road there. So it looks like you have to drive up and get your items out of the window. It's perfect. And now we've got more room for this our RBC bank. It's perfect. This is absolutely what we were going for. Yeah. So I think I'll speed up the game and get the pipes in the road here. Yeah. And I think that's where we'll leave it for today.